Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, you know me. My name is Dr. Keith McNally. This is Coach's Corner. Now, typically I talk with two hands, but my other hand is holding a book. Hopefully, you will see it. The book's entitled Opening the Gates of the Heart. I'm here with CJ. She likes to be called Crackerjack, or at the very least, she lets me call her Crackerjack because she was on the Question Guy podcast. CJ, welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Keith. I'm doing great.
Well, I appreciate that. So I brought you back because you inspired me. You actually sent me this. And so there's actually a handwritten note at the beginning of the book, and I so appreciate it. And this book is very unique because its inception was really divine by nature, but not necessarily intentional by you, because at some point you just took a bunch of pictures of gates and fences and such. And then one day you were inspired to write about it. So talk to me. What is this book all about?
Well, it did occur, like you were saying. I took these pictures of all these gates that I had fallen in love with in a neighborhood. And then, about 9 months after I shot the photos, I was journaling. I journaled every morning to keep myself sane during sobriety. Well, I wrote, I have spent a lifetime spinning webs of terror and shame between the spires that stand as sentinels to my heart.
And that is associated with this picture. So just giving
Yes.
everybody in the audience a reference point. The
And I
type,
had titled that picture Webs of Fear a couple weeks earlier. And then I come up and write this verse. I about fell on the floor when I realized that these words gave voice to that picture. I began to look through my journals for other tidbits of writings that would match other gates that I had titled. See, I was prepared to take them to a gallery and sell them, so they had to be titled and framed.
wow.
So that's what I was doing with the gates. And then this other thing happened with the book. It wasn't long before I realized that I was writing a book. I had a book here.
And
So
you
I started putting it together.
And so what I've noticed is that you then took all those tidbits of in your journal and associated them with each of the pictures. So I've got to ask you, what inspires you or what allows you to think that this part of my journal, this writing is associated with a certain picture? So how does that work for you?
Well, the way it worked was I had about 20 pictures blown into 5x7s, and I lined them up across the floor in the living room. And I stood back. I had a list with me of ways that we treat ourselves badly, ways that we treat others badly, ways that we can be more kind and treat ourselves and others more kindly and with love. And I began to, that's how I titled the images. And then I went back to my journals I had printed out. I had typed up and printed out the different verses that I could use in the book. And I just started going along. Does this fit this title? Does this fit this title? And I did it. I did that for 43 books. I mean, photos.
So I want to stop you right there because there's one here that is, quite frankly, longer than the rest. And I want to read it out, if that's okay.
Oh, yes, please do.
And the title is called Surrender of Pretense. And I'm just going to give a really quick visual of the gate. and I'm going to read out what you wrote. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Now, I'm not a poet, so I'm going to do my best here. I put on a courageous face and move bravely forward, but I feel lost and displaced. My heart dies one piece at a time behind a gate that rusts away. I am no longer able to maintain the pretense that all is fine behind my gates of false bravado and politeness. It is time to let others see the pitted and rusted metal that is me. It is time to let myself come out from behind my gate. Can you please talk about that to me, please? That is not only one of the longer ones, but it seems to have very deep meaning to you.
Yes, it does. About, well, I really was having struggles with all the feelings that were coming up when I didn't have anything to numb them. And I had spent a lifetime, I was reflecting on the fact that I had spent a lifetime being quiet and not sharing my thoughts because my experience was if I shared my thoughts and someone didn't like them, then I either got verbally or physically punished
Mm,
for them. So I learned to be quiet. And then I had already started putting the book together, and this gate came across my eyes.
mhm,
And I just thought of this verse from my journal because I actually, even after I put the book together, I hadn't published it yet. I felt that there was no purpose to my life
mm,
other than to be plagued by the feelings that I had gotten after a lifetime of trauma. So I prayed to God to let me die.
mm,
I was too afraid to commit suicide because I thought I might fail and I'd be worse off than I was now. So I prayed to God to let me die. Then one day I did what we were taught to do, and I went to a meeting. There I met Steve, and he could have been telling my story. I went up and talked to him after the meeting, and I shared resources with him, and he was so grateful. He started crying. I was so grateful that he was touched and that I had been able to help someone that I started crying as I was walking back to my car. And then I realized what the deal was. This was the purpose of my life, to share the things that I had learned through a lifetime of trauma with other people so that they could become peaceful with it.
mm.
And that's how I discovered the purpose of my life. And of course, the book is one big purpose of my life.
With that being as it is, let me ask you another question. When people look at the pictures that you took of all of these gates, and there are, how many are there? There are easily, gosh,
There's 43.
there seems like so much more because this is a pretty big book.
You've got
There,
the stories at the end.
yeah, there are all kinds of pictures. So
Fulfillment of dreams.
some taking at night, and there's another one, and these are just some of the ones I'm attracted to. So I'm
That
just
you
gonna,
liked, realm of possibilities.
and this one as well.
Oh,
You,
invitation of dialogue.
and so you remember that one. And so what what was the inspiration to take these specific pictures? Or Was it really just happenstance that you were just walking around in your neighborhood and you just took a picture of all the gates? Is there some divine nature that that prompted you to take specific pictures, or what?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I had left my husband. We were living on a 43-foot sailboat in a marina in Sausalito. And I was sitting in the cockpit because I had gone to say goodbye to him. I was going to San Diego to get sober with a friend of mine. As I sat in the cockpit, I was looking toward the bay, the Richardson Bay, and I noticed the land across the water. And I thought, I've heard really good things about that place. I've never been. I better go because I'm leaving. So I went and visited, and I saw all these old gates that I fell in love with, and I vowed to photograph them if I ever returned.
Wow.
And that was in 2001. In 2004, I came back up to the Bay Area to show off my sobriety, I suppose. And went back there to the gates, and I took my camera and all my gear, and I spent hours and days and weeks just wandering the roads. I have 900 gate slides.
Oh, wow.
I took them on slides, and I still have them. In fact, in my to-go bag, if we ever have to leave for a fire or a flood or anything, I have my satchel with all my slides in it.
I love
As
it.
well as things to go.
I love it. And so there are plenty more pictures. So it begs the question, is there more inspiration inside of you or inside of your journal that can be associated with any of those pictures? Or have you not even delved into that yet?
I'm going to delve into a memoir.
Okay.
And thank you for that reminder because I've got like 30 journals out in my shed and I can pull them out and start reading them and perhaps gain things for my memoir.
Well, let me ask you this one last question. We did the first picture and the associated verse. What other verses here and what other pictures are your favorites?
This one right here,
What page are you on?
Moments of Wonder.
Read the verse, please.
Moments of Wonder. A beam of light falls upon the metal. I look with awe and wonder at the star that appears out of nowhere. Do you suppose there has always been such richness, such wonder, such beauty in the world? Perhaps it has been there all along, waiting to be noticed, to be seen with the eyes of the heart.
I love it.
I went for 9 months, Keith, and I did not see that star lit up. That's not why I took the picture. I took the picture because of the greenery and the red and the yellow. And then 9 months later, when I had the photos lined up against the wall to title them, that's when I saw the star, and it was, oh my gosh, look at that. So that's why this picture became Moments of Wonder.
Perfect. That is absolutely perfect. If you were to give this away to somebody, why would you do that? Why would you want somebody to take a hold of your book, look through the pictures, and read through the verses? What impact, what long-lasting impact do you want to leave with somebody with this book?
I would give it as a gift, or I would give it to someone who's troubled.
Talk to me.
What I want them to come away from it with is peace. that they relate to the journey that I traveled through in this book, because it goes from fear and worthlessness and anxiety all the way through growth steps to peace and joy and serenity. And I want them to feel that. If I would want them to have a chance to feel it, that's why I would give them my book.
CJ, I appreciate that. And I appreciate this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Keith.
For those of you who have been watching and listening, I appreciate you as well. And I'll see you next time. Take care.